In a vibrant neighborhood of Ibadan, bustling with life from sunrise to sunset, Tola was known for her infectious energy and love for her family. Her laughter filled the modest house she shared with her father, stepmother, and stepsister, Abini. Tola was engaged to Lakan, a kind man who loved her dearly, and the whole community was excited for their upcoming wedding. "Tola, where's the tailor's receipt for your wedding dress?" Abini asked, flicking through Tola's neatly stacked papers on the kitchen table. "I kept it in the drawer," Tola replied with a smile, confidently flipping the pan-fried plantain. "Why?" "I just wanted to make sure everything is on track," Abini said, widening her smile a little too much. Tola nodded, trusting her completely. That evening, as Tola tidied up her room, she noticed her drawer slightly ajar. Papers, usually neat, were shuffled and untidy. She paused, glancing around, but shrugged it off. Abini often helped with wedding preparations. Maybe she just forgot to close it properly. Days passed, and the finish line of their wedding day neared. Tola visited the tailor to pick up her final masterpiece, a dazzling white lace gown her mother had envisioned before she passed. But as Tola reached the small shop, the tailor, Mr. Adeyemi, looked puzzled. "I thought you picked it up yesterday, Tola," he said, scratching his head. Tola felt her heart drop. "No, Mr. Adeyemi," she said, confusion mixing with panic. "I haven't been here since we last checked the fittings." "But a lady showed up with the receipt," he insisted. "She looked like you." Tola's mind raced. She had seen this scene replayed in her nightmares. "Was it Abini?" she asked quietly, hoping he'd say no. Mr. Adeyemi nodded slowly. "Yes, that's the name she gave." Tola's head spun as she walked home, every step heavy with dread. Her sister, her own flesh and blood, had deceived her. But why? Entering the living room, Tola saw Abini lounging casually. "Did you need something from Mr. Adeyemi, Abini?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "No, not really," Abini replied, not meeting Tola's eyes. The air between them was suddenly charged with tension, like the stillness before a storm. During dinner, the house felt colder despite the humid air. Their father noticed Tola's silence. "Nko? What's wrong, my daughter?" "Nothing, Daddy," Tola mumbled, not wanting to cause a scene at the table. Later in bed, Tola couldn't sleep. Her mind wouldn't rest. Why would Abini take the dress? She replayed their years growing up, the moments Abini seemed slighted, jealous even, of the adoration Tola received. Maybe this was her revenge. The next morning, Tola confronted Abini. "I know about the dress," she said, voice trembling slightly but firm. Abini tilted her head, feigning innocence. "Dress? You mean your wedding dress?" she asked, her voice dripping with an astonishing lack of remorse. "You know what I'm talking about, Abini. How could you?" Tola's voice cracked with a mix of betrayal and anger. "Maybe you don't deserve to get married, Tola. Have you thought about why everything good always happens for you?" Abini fired back, her eyes cold, finally revealing her resentment. Their father's voice rang out from the doorway. "What is going on here?" His sudden presence startled both girls. Tola's anger turned to desperation. "She took my wedding dress, Daddy. Abini stole it." Abini scoffed, her facade dropping. "Yes, I did, and what are you going to do about it?" she challenged, her spiteful gaze searing through Tola. Their father's face contorted in shock. "Abini, why?" he implored, looking between his daughters. "Maybe if you paid more attention to me and not your precious Tola, you'd understand," Abini spat, turning on her heel and leaving the room in an emotional fury. With the wedding looming and her dress missing, Tola felt the world crumbling beneath her feet. Watching her father's confused remorse and Abini's anger, a faint idea sparked. Tola knew she had to act, but exactly how was still a mystery. As she sat alone in her room, tears beginning to fall, she realized getting even with Abini might not even be enough. Not for the hurt she was feeling now. The plan she was forming could change everything and reveal truths that would leave their family forever altered. Tola sat on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the dimly lit room. Her heart was pounding with anger and confusion as she grappled with Abini's betrayal. She was overwhelmed by an urge to retaliate, to make Abini feel the same way she did now. The wedding was only days away, and her dress, a symbol of her mother's love and dreams, was gone. The next morning, with resolve fueling her steps, Tola approached Abini. The words left her lips before she could stop herself. I hope you enjoy wearing my mother's dream, but remember, you can never be me. The words cut through the air, heavier than either of them could handle. The tension between them had turned into a palpable, suffocating barrier. Meanwhile, their father, restless from witnessing his daughter's anguish, decided to intervene. He approached their church pastor for advice, seeking any way to mend the growing chasm within his family. At the church, Pastor Dio listened intently to their father's concerns. After a moment of silence, he said, "Sometimes in seeking revenge, we lose ourselves and what is truly important." Have you ever read Matthew 5:44, where Jesus asks us to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us? Their father nodded, though skeptical. This situation went beyond mere sibling rivalry, but Pastor Dio's words planted a seed, one that could alter the course of their family's future. Back at home, Tola overheard her father's phone conversation with Pastor Dio. Her heart ached with the intensity of her father's pain. He was a man caught in the wreckage of his daughter's unraveling relationship, helpless and broken. Later, locked in her room, Tola found herself leafing through her old Bible, desperately seeking solace. Her fingers stopped on a page, and her eyes landed on Romans 12:19. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. The words resonated, stirring something deep within her. Meanwhile, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers and disapproval. Everyone knew of the missing dress, of the sisters' feud. Abini, once admired for her perceived kindness, now wore the scarlet letter of betrayal. In the throes of her solitude, Abini started to feel the weight of humiliation. She wandered through the market, hoping for a distraction, but instead found herself ignored by those who once greeted her warmly. It was an open rebuke, silent yet deafening. That evening, Abini stumbled upon their father reading a passage aloud. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. He presented the scripture with a tenderness that tugged at her heart. In a moment that felt both sudden and long-awaited, Abini approached Tola's door. She stood there hesitating before finally knocking. The door opened to reveal Tola's questioning eyes. Abini confessed through sobs, I've been jealous of you, Tola, of how everyone loves you and how everything seems to come so easily for you. Her voice cracked. I took the dress because I thought it would level the field, but it only made me feel more alone. In that shared moment of raw honesty, they both grew silent. The air shifted, lighter, as they embraced a profound understanding. Tola whispered, we can blame each other forever, or we can try and start new. With the wedding drawing near, the sisters stood together, side by side, facing their father. Abini, having retrieved the dress from its hiding place, handed it back to Tola. At the wedding, as the music played and laughter filled the air, Pastor Dio spoke to the congregation about forgiveness. True strength comes not from holding on to anger, but from letting it go, he said, glancing knowingly at the sisters. And so as Tola walked down the aisle towards Lacan, her heart was lightened not by a perfect resolution, but by the knowledge that love and faith had carried them all on a journey not of revenge, but of redemption.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.